here. How you doing tonight? How is your end? I hope that you are okay. And to my fellow Nigerians, I want to say happy independence. And to everybody, happy new month. It's the first day of October 2024. We thank God for making it thus far, and we trust Him that He's going to see us through the remaining years that we have to spend on earth by God's grace. All right, so you are most welcome to this live stream where we're going to continue with the review of this wonderful book titled Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So far, we've reviewed chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. So tonight, we're going to review chapter 5, which is titled Specialized Knowledge, Personal Experiences or Observations, the fourth step to riches. We've looked at the first step to riches, which is desire, the second step to riches, which is faith, and then yesterday we looked at the third step to riches, which is auto-suggestion, as in whatever you feed your mind with, the power of imagination, the power of suggesting something, anything at all to your mind. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Fatu Royal. I welcome you all. All right. Thank you so much for joining early. So very quickly, we're going to review chapter 5, and it is my desire that we'll be able to finish chapter 5, tonight. So let's roll. Specialized knowledge. The author says there are two kinds of knowledge. One is general knowledge, and the second one is specialized knowledge. General knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety, is of little or no use in the accumulation of money. General knowledge is the kind of knowledge that you acquire at the university. I don't know what course you studied at the university, but you may cast your mind back now and then tell me, is there any part of that knowledge that you acquired at the university that is still very useful for you today? So you may want to think about it. So general knowledge, may not be so beneficial to us because faculties come up with their own curriculum, they come up with their teachings and all of that. And in some universities, or when it comes to some courses, you will see that the same topics, the same course materials or course content that they used for students 10 years ago is what they still use for students at this time. No changes or very little changes. And that confirms the fact that is general knowledge. The knowledge has not changed. Just like when you say 2 plus 2 is 4, it is general knowledge, right? Just like when you say, male, female, anything general. So you really cannot use that to accumulate money or any fortune. What you need, if you want to accumulate fortune, is specialized knowledge. A knowledge that is special, that has a focus in a particular thing. Oh, glad to know, Mr. Adekunle. No wonder I've not been seeing you. Good to have you back. That knowledge is actually focused, is concentrated on a particular area. That is specialized knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action. So it means your knowledge is not enough. You have to organize your knowledge. You now have to direct it. You need an action plan for the knowledge that you have, and then direct it towards the accumulation of money. And this is where a lot of people get confused. In fact, millions of people, because everybody just goes around saying knowledge is power, knowledge is power. The title of this live stream says knowledge is not power. And based on what the author has explained here, and I agree, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. It is only when you have put the knowledge that you have to use that it gives you power. But at best, knowledge remains just knowledge. It remains dormant. It is just called knowledge. Like if I asked you now, what do you know? Of course, you have knowledge of so many things, right? But how many of them do you actually put into practice? At the beginning, I said, cast your mind back to when you were in university. the course that you studied, the things that you learned, how many of them do you apply today? Maybe not so much, right? So knowledge is not power if that knowledge is not put to a definite use, to bring about a definite change or a favorable change in our situation. All right. Knowledge only becomes power when it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. So the missing link in all systems of education known to civilization today may be found in the failure of educational institutions to teach their students how to organize and use knowledge after they acquire it. There are so many university students today who are not employable because they cannot apply the knowledge they acquired at the university to real life situations at the workplace. I wrote an article some time ago, Graduate Employability, and I found out so many interesting facts about graduates. Even you will know that this is the truth. How many graduates today can confidently go to the workplace to acquire the knowledge? Let's not even go to Nigerian universities. A lot of times it is just theoretical knowledge, not practical hands-on training. But we hope that things will keep getting better. Many people make the mistake of assuming that because Henry Ford had little schooling, he is not a man of education. And this is another angle to it. Going to the four walls of a school does not necessarily mean that you acquire education. There's this saying that, we're fond of saying in Nigeria, some people pass through school, but school did not pass through them. A lot of people just go to school because, I also want to be called a graduate. Let it not be said that I did not go to school. But then they may not necessarily be educated. And that is why you will ask yourself, how come this person has a master's degree or a PhD or even a first degree, a bachelor's degree, and this person is still poor? This person cannot use the knowledge acquired to make to earn meaningful income. That aspect is very, very deep, actually. So a lot of people thought that Henry Ford, we've talked about Henry Ford a lot since we started reviewing this book. They thought that because he had little schooling, he's not a man of education. Those who make this mistake do not know Henry Ford, nor do they understand the real meaning of the word educate. That word is derived from the Latin educo, meaning to educe, to draw out, to develop from within. There are so many people who did not go to school per se, but who are doing very well because they draw from within. They're able to think deeply. They're able to make sense of whatever they are doing. An educated person is not necessarily one who has abundance of general or specialized knowledge. Educated people have developed the faculties of their minds so that they may acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Henry Ford comes well within the meaning of this definition. If you can acquire whatever you want or the equivalent of what you want, it means that you can put your mind to good use. That is what education is about. Even though we are not trying to play down on the importance of schooling, it is very, very important. In fact, it should be the foundation to success because it exposes you, it opens up your mind, it is enlightening, it brings you in contact with so many people. But then it doesn't end there. And that is where a lot of people miss it. Going to school and then they stop reading, they stop learning. They're busy carrying that certificate around. Looking for a job, I beg to apply. If they don't get that job, they cannot reason and think outside the box. Okay, what can I do? I have acquired this knowledge. I have this certificate. How can I put it to good use? And so many people complain, no job. Why don't you sit down and also see what you can create? We're going to read the story of a man here who actually created a job for himself. In fact, not one. Let me not dwell too much on the story of Henry Ford, but then there was a time that a newspaper published and called him an ignorant pacifist. That was what they called Henry Ford. And so he charged them to court. While they were in the court, the lawyers now started asking him several questions to prove whether he was actually educated or not. And so they were asking him all kinds of questions like who was Benedict Arnold? How many soldiers did the British send over to America to put down the rebellion of 1776? Questions like that, more like current affairs questions. He managed to answer some, and at a point, he became angry and faced them and said, I don't have to answer all of these your foolish questions. I have people in my organization that are employed that by just merely pushing a button on my desk, they are going to appear and answer all kinds of questions that I may have. And he bamboozled them with that response. So it is not about going to school. It is not about acquiring the degrees. The knowledge that you have. Henry Ford, they claimed, did not go to school, but he employed so many people who were at his beck and call. Graduates, people who spent years acquiring degrees, were employed by a man who did not acquire formal education. So in actual sense, education is you being able to put your mind to good use, not limiting yourself, thinking outside the box. Any person is educated who knows where to get knowledge when needed and how to organize that knowledge into definite plans of action. As we are reviewing this chapter, I want something to be arousing inside of you, to be, challenging you, and to make you think outside of the box. Probably you've been limiting yourself, thinking that, oh, if only I had acquired this degree, if only I had gone to that school. That is not it. Education is any person is educated who knows where to get knowledge when needed and how to organize that knowledge into definite plans of action. So you putting your mind to good use is what is very, very important. So now let's talk about specialized knowledge. What do we mean by specialized knowledge? Probably you intend to go into a particular area of business. Instead of going to school to study business management, you may go to a business school, right? For example, and then go and concentrate on how to do business. Instead of going to the university for 4 years, you may probably go to a business school for 1 year or 2, as the case may be, where all that you're going to be taught is how to do business, the nitty-gritty of doing business. Instead of going to university where you learn GNS, you do some elective courses, some selective courses, different kinds of things. If you're in Nigeria, ASU strike is going to creep in and things like that, right? Or you start reading books, start gathering books on business. In fact, the particular kind of business that you want to do, the general aspects of business, and focusing on that particular business. Another way to acquire specialized knowledge when it comes to business is to also go and be an apprentice somewhere. When we're reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, we talked about working for free, volunteering. You may identify a company similar to the kind of company or business that you intend to start. Go there and work as an intern or a staff. Tell them they don't need to pay you because you know what you are looking for. You are there to acquire knowledge, hands-on training, right? This is a smart way of acquiring specialized knowledge. Except you are the kind of person that really, really loves certificates. Then you may decide to go for that. But it may not be of, great use to you in the long run. Because now for 4 years, you have studied several courses. Maybe in a semester, you're doing 10 courses, and that means in a session, you're doing like 20. And 75 of that is not so relevant to what you actually need. And the lecturer just comes, give you lecture, you write exams, you write tests. No hands-on training, no practical knowledge, nothing. So consider this as a way of getting specialized knowledge. Focus all your energy, all your time on that particular thing. Learn it. If it is for 1 year, if it is for 6 months, read books around it, attend trainings, attend seminars, such that in this case, you put all your eggs in one basket. If you focus on one thing, the results that you will get from it is going to be enormous. Okay, so we've said before that this is not to play down the importance of schooling. It is very important. It's a great way to start. Anybody who wants to be great, it is always good for you to attend a formal school where you learn to read and write, you learn to communicate, you learn some ethics and things like that. Because there's a case of a man here, Dave Thomas, who was very, very successful. He had a chain of restaurants in America, Florida, but then he dropped out of school because he understood the importance of education. 45 years after he dropped out of school, he went back to obtain his diploma. And he always told people, young people, the importance of education, of, acquiring formal education. But then what the author is trying to say is that you don't need to waste all your years going to the four walls of a school, gathering general knowledge that will be of little or no use to you, to the purpose that you want to achieve in life. It's best to know how to purchase knowledge. First of all, decide on the sort of specialized knowledge you require. Is it in photography? Is it in marketing? Is it in content creation? Is it in, what's it called? Educational institution? Maybe you want to own a school. Is it in ministry? You want to become a pastor? So decide on that. And the purpose for which it is needed. Why do you need this? To a large extent, your major purpose in life. So it may be born out of your passion, your love. You feel your love for that thing. You feel that acquiring that specialized knowledge is going to bring you fulfillment in life. So think about it. It is never too late. Your age is immaterial here. Your previous educational status is immaterial here. If you're going to start now, it's a good time to start. There are some things that I'm also starting now in my life. I have never done them before. But as I speak to you, I already have the plan that, yes, I'm interested in this thing. It is going to move me towards my purpose in life. And I've started making moves towards them. They are all written down. So don't ever think that it is too late. It is never too late. People have different timings in life. People are going to come to self-discovery at different times in life. That is the truth. Whenever you wake up is when you wake up. That is your own morning. Then you start, get to work. So we said it has to do with, to a great extent, your major purpose in life. The goal towards which you are working will help determine what knowledge you need. With this question settled, your next move requires that you have accurate information concerning dependable sources of knowledge. How do you want to acquire this knowledge? The more important of these are one's own experience and education. You have an experience in life, right? Do you want it to be based on that, or the education that you had before? Maybe you've studied to be a banker before. You may want to build on that to now go into another kind of financial service. Maybe collecting money from people, putting it to good use, something like that. So it may be based on experience. It may not be born out of something entirely new. So you may want to leverage your experience or previous education. It may also be based on the experience and education available to you through the cooperation of others. Maybe you have identified that, this person will be a good mentor to me. This person knows about this thing, and this person will be willing to teach me. So you may also want to leverage that. You may also want to ask yourself about colleges and universities. Is it important that I go to the university to acquire this? Should I attend the college to acquire this? Or maybe public libraries. You want to start going to the library to read about it, or you want to start buying books to start reading about that. Or maybe attending special training courses. 1 month course, 2 months course, 3 months course. Thankfully, in this digital age, there are some sites that offer free courses like Coursera and the likes of them, or even paid courses. You bring money out of your pocket to attend that training, to pay for that course, to acquire that specialized knowledge. I'm trying to be fast. I'm really, really trying to be fast. I'm really, 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 really trying to be fast. So let's read the story of this young man. But before that, let me read this part. The continuously changing economic conditions in our society have made it necessary for thousands of people to find additional or new sources of income. For the majority, the solution to their problem may be found only by acquiring specialized knowledge. So don't close your mind. Don't say, oh, I'm a lawyer. How can I now be doing buying and selling? If you want additional streams of income, you must open up your mind. You must be flexible when it comes to opportunities. You may need to acquire specialized knowledge in something entirely different, but for which you have passion or interests. Many will be forced to change their occupations entirely. You're ready to make that move if it is necessary. The person who stops studying merely because they have finished school is forever hopelessly doomed to mediocrity, no matter what they are calling. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. Let us consider a specific instance. So during a time of economic downturn in America, there was this guy, he was a salesman in a grocery store. And so he was made redundant because, remember, it was a time of economic downturn, right? So instead of seeking a job in an economy where jobs were already scarce, he thought about what he could do, how he could create a business of his own. After all, he was going to eat. Probably he had mouths to feed. He had a family to take care of. So instead of going back home and wallowing in self-pity, he thought of the business that he could do. And then he started doing this bookkeeping business based on his bookkeeping experience. You see that he leveraged what he already knew. Based on his bookkeeping experience, he started a bookkeeping business. And he started with this same store that he was working for. He started keeping their books, providing them with simple accounting services, helping them to balance their sheets and things like that. And from there, he started rendering this service for more than 100 small businesses. And that was how he became big. Before he knew it, there was a need for an office. He equipped this office. He hired staff to start working for him. And he became very great at this business. That is what we're talking about. The beginning of this successful business was an idea, just an idea. And you see, the challenge that he faced, the problem, forced him to think outside of the box. If there was no economic hardship, if he had not been made redundant in that grocery store, he probably would have kept on doing it. The genius in him wouldn't have been awakened. And this is where I say to you that don't see every problem, every challenge as the end of the world, as the end of life. God may be using it to tell you something. Wake up, wake up, wake up. There are better opportunities than this job that you're holding tightly to. You see? So don't allow any challenge to deter you. Don't allow any challenge to unrattle you. At first, it may, as human beings. But don't remain there. Think outside the box. Okay, I was working for this store. I was working for this company. I was rendering this service to them. Can I now stand on my own now that this job is over in this company and start rendering the same service to other people? Start getting my own clients. That's what we're talking about. And it was said of another young man who also turned his challenge into an opportunity, into greatness. What's his name? I hope I've not missed it. Let me quickly say. I'm actually skipping a lot. But all right, but Yeah, I'm not going to skip too much, but I'll try to be faster now. So there was this young man who was looking for a job, right? And he felt that it was hard getting a job at that time. What would he do? And so, with the help of his mom, wrote out a plan that he would execute in a prospective company. He had not been hired by this company, but he knew that if he prepared adequately, he had a better chance of being hired by this company. So he went into research about this prospective company, the company that he intended to go work for, with the help of his mom. His mom was a very good writer. She was very good at storytelling. And so they came up with a 50-page book, like a scrapbook, about this guy, his education, his background, his interest, his abilities, more like a CV, right? But in an expanded form, like telling his entire life story, as well as the plan that he was going to execute in that company if hired. So they did their research about that company, went to the library to look for books. This guy even went to competitor companies, rival companies, to go and gather information about them. So with the help of his mom, they put all of this together. So when he got a chance for an interview at that company, he presented his plan that if I am hired, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they were blown away. They were wowed that, wow, this person is not already hired, but he has a plan for the company, the things that he's going to execute to move this company forward. Tell me, if you were such an employer, wouldn't you hire this person? Somebody that is thinking ahead, that if this company hires me, this is how I'm going to move them to the next level. Right? And he was hired. Do you know the position that they gave him? They gave him the position of a junior executive at a salary that he determined. Please let me know if you can hear me. All right, so let me just continue. So it would have taken him 10 years to get to this position. And we saw the story of somebody else who also planned adequately, planned his way to getting to the top. And so the author is saying that it is not always a good idea to start at the bottom. Because if you start at the bottom, it may take you a long time to get there. And so many people often get relaxed at the bottom. They may not have that motivation to keep climbing high, right? Let me read a part of it. It says the idea of starting at the bottom and working one's way up may appear sound, but the major objection to it is this: too many of those who begin at the bottom never manage to lift their heads high enough to be seen by opportunity, so they remain at the bottom. It should be remembered also that the outlook from the bottom is not so very bright or encouraging. It has a tendency to kill off ambition. We call it getting into a rut, which means we accept our fate because we form the habit of daily routine. A habit that finally becomes so strong, we cease to try to throw it off. And that is another reason why it pays to start one or two steps above the bottom. By so doing, one forms the habit of looking around, of observing how others get ahead, of seeing opportunity, and of embracing it without hesitation. So don't always make up your mind that I'm going to start at the bottom. It sounds like a good idea to say, okay, at least it's better than nothing. But make a plan. Start at least a level or two above the bottom so that you don't get drowned at the bottom, especially if you're somebody who is not self-motivated. But what I'll say is this: if starting at the bottom is the only option that you have, because the example that is coming to my mind now is Thomas Edison's partner in business, Edwin C. Barnes, actually started at the bottom, but he was self-motivated. He knew where he was going, and so he didn't lose focus. So if you are self-motivated, if starting at the bottom is the only option that you have, start at it, but don't remain at the bottom. Do everything possible to climb up very fast. and it will depend on your daily routine. So we saw the story of another person here who, when he graduated, who, when, is it a she or he? Let's just say he graduated from college, there was no job. It was also a time of economic downturn. So he took up a job as a salesperson, but he had focus. He did that job consistently to the best of his ability, very well. So when opportunity presented itself, he took it because he had been working hard. He did not lose focus to the point that the owner of the company took notice of him and gave him a chance. And before he knew it, he became an executive in that same company. This is the mind of somebody who was determined to get to the top. Another example we'll look at is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was very determined to win. And even when he was sent out of, let me just quickly take that part. Honing one's skill to become top in one's field is not limited to people in business. Michael Jordan planned every step to becoming one of the greatest athletes of his generation. He had always had the determination to win and the willpower to keep in shape and play his very best. He is committed to maintaining high standards of and improving his own records. And he learned his lesson early in life. In high school, he was dropped from the team, but his determination did not keep him out of the team. He kept on using the opportunity that he had to train, to exercise, to develop his mental capacity. And then he came back to playing, even when people thought that he was no longer in his prime, age was not on his side. Michael Jordan did not give up. That is the power of determination. And it tells us that a no does not necessarily mean a no. It depends on how you see it. A no may mean go and try again. A no may mean work harder on yourself and come back again. Michael, he later recorded outstanding results and he won. So your determination is what is going to keep you at the top, nothing else. Don't ever give up. There is no fixed price for sound idea. Once you have an idea, work towards it, have an action plan, acquire specialized training to make sure that your idea is brought to life. That is the summary of this. Chapter 5. Specialized training. Work on it. Have an action plan. You see, planning is very important. All the people that we read about here, they planned. They had an idea and they planned towards it. If you plan towards it, the moment an opportunity, arises, you're not going to miss it. You're going to take full advantage of it. I hope you got something tonight. I don't want to keep us any further here. So this is where we're going to end, and we've come to the end of. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in. I apologize for the cost of the live stream. Internet can decide to play a fast one. So thank you so much. If you have the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, please read ahead of tomorrow's review. God bless you all. Don't forget to like this video. In case you have not liked it, drop your comments, subscribe to this channel if you are not yet subscribed. Tomorrow. Take care.